Thank you, Charlie. As he mentioned, I'm the director of Lemonade Detroit, and at the moment it is a 17-minute short. And if my voice cracks, I do apologize. I got Flyers creep. Right now it is a 17-minute short of Lemonade Detroit. It is in production. A feature-length film is in production, and as Charlie mentioned, you can become a producer yourself for as little as $1 on lemonadedetroit.com, an IMDb credited producer. All that information is up there. You can also buy shirts like this, and shirts and other shirts, and all the proceeds from that go into production of the feature-length film. And perhaps most importantly, if you have a story or you know of a story of someone who is taking their situation and changing it for the better of their city and making something incredible happen for the future of Detroit, please let me know. And you can hit me up on lemonadedetroit.com. I'm not one of those people who minds if your heads are down tweeting. In fact, I encourage it. That's my hashtag, Eproulx. Lemonade Detroit, I'm sorry, that's my Twitter handle, Eproulx. Lemonade Detroit is the hashtag for the film. By all means, tweet about it and connect with me there. I try very, very hard to respond to people who try to connect with me on Twitter. I think it's an incredible medium. Before I get to, actually, I guess I already am started. The question I think I get asked the most is, you know, what's a guy from Boston? Until recently, I moved to Austin, Texas a few months ago. But what's a guy who has really never been to Michigan, who's never lived in Michigan, who had only been to Detroit for the first time in 2009, telling this story? Why do I care? And to answer that question, it's actually a little bit Freudian, so bear with me for a second. That's my mom. She's the baby holding the baby me. In 1971, I was born, excuse me, I was born in Lawrence, Massachusetts, which during the early and mid 80s had the distinction of being the welfare capital of the United States. It was poorer than Detroit, it was poorer than Cleveland, it was actually the poorest city per capita in America. And we were actually on welfare ourselves. Stood in line for government cheese and government butter. We had food stamps, the whole 9 yards. And while that does sound challenging, it actually presented an opportunity for my mom to put me in government subsidized daycare while she went and got training. Clerical skills, typewriting skills, things that could get her out of poverty. And she did take advantage of those things. And not only did she get us out of poverty at a relatively short amount of time and get herself back working, she got additional training and went through additional education and ultimately ended up becoming the executive director of the very same place that gave her that training over the course of 20 years. So I had this really powerful example from a very early age that whatever crappy hand you were dealt in life does not have to be your future, that you can reinvent yourself and reinvent your community around it. And by the way, the memories that I have of taking government cheese and those big bricks of frozen butter in the freezer were replaced by memories of handing those things out as a volunteer to other welfare recipients and other people who needed the assistance, because my mom very much believed in that I should give back to the community and I should help those who were in the situation that we were once in. So that's me, thank you very much. That's me in 1993, and I am incredibly hungover in that picture. I was just receiving my diploma from the University of New Hampshire, which is the college that my mom put me through. Without really understanding what I wanted to do, I went through a couple of iterations trying to sort of figure life out. And at first I thought I wanted to be a journalist because I graduated with an English degree. And I was reporting on town meetings and stuff, and that to me was my only future. So the next thing, I thought maybe I wanted to get into mutual funds, and that didn't really work out. And then I found advertising. And for 15 years, I tried to be Don Draper. 15 years, 6 cities, and not 1, not 2, but 3 layoffs. 2008 was my final layoff, and the last time that I worked full-time in the advertising industry. And I was faced with that question, well, what now? I was offered a couple of other jobs in the industry, but who wants to go through that again? And I had to ask that question. What if? What if I tried something else? What if I evolved my career beyond this thing that I had tried so hard and pursued for so long? So the first thing I did was started blogging to other people who had gotten laid off. The blog was called Please Feed the Animals, and it was the title of the blog was a blog for the recently unemployed advertising professional, because a lot of people had not gone through it a couple times like I had, having landed on my feet, I had this wily layoff veterans mentality, this experience that said, I'm going to be okay. But these people going through it for the first time, they didn't know that. But a funny thing happened. I started getting these stories from people who would respond in the comments and send me emails that said, getting laid off was the best thing that ever happened to me. I always had the passion for coffee roasting. Now I'm doing it full time. I bought a coffee roaster, and I'm making coffee for a living. I used to get browbeaten when I left my job at 5:30 to go to yoga class. And now that I don't have to leave an office every day at 5:30, I opened a yoga studio. And that is my career. And all these people, one guy said I lost my job and changed my gender. And these are the freedoms that people were opened up to. They could go and pursue what was truly inside of them. What a great idea for a movie. And that was my first Lemonade film. The tagline is, it's not a pink slip, it's a blank page. People got laid off and went and found what they loved to do. I got a lot of help making this film. I had never made a film before, but it ended up being a 36-minute technical short because it doesn't really fit into festivals like as a feature or a short. But technically it was a short. And it was the #1 most watched documentary on Hulu. It was ahead of WALL-E in rentals on iTunes. It got picked up by the Documentary Channel and several networks around the world. And it was changing people's opinions. The people who saw it could kind of actually see, oh my God, I can listen to that voice in my head that asks, what if? Yeah, what if? Hold on. And screening that film for the first time, as Charlie mentioned, to a room full of 300 to 400 people who had been laid off or were about to get laid off because BBDO announced it was closing, was a transformative experience for me. I thought coming into Detroit for the very first time, I believed everything that I had heard in the media and that this was just going to be a drop in the bucket and they wouldn't really see the promise or feel its intention and I'd just be booed off the stage. And none of that happened. In fact, in the questions afterwards, all these people were coming up to me and saying, I have this idea, I'm at this stage of getting this business hatched. And it struck me that Detroit is the best place in the world to ask that question, what if? What if I tried something new? What if I tried to change my community? It's a very, very powerful question when you apply it first to yourself and then to the people and lives and businesses around you. What if a manufacturing plant that made automobiles could make clothing instead? What if I taught disadvantaged youth to discover their strength and their agility and mental toughness through fencing? What if I tempted people around the world to visit downtown Detroit with a cheap, comfortable place to stay? What if I reinvented a prison laundry truck to be a mobile store where I could sell my t-shirt designs and reinvent my personal career after a layoff, as Chris did. You're going to see the 17-minute short in a few minutes. This is a clip from Reverend Barry Randolph, who was in the film. This clip isn't in the film. It's actually some extra footage. In fact, of the 17, we shot maybe 40 hours of footage, and all those things that I said, ways that you can get involved, we're still trying to edit that footage into the feature and actually shoot some more. So you'll see this clip actually speaks very, very well to, in a way only a pastor can articulate the possibilities of reinvention.
This little bitty insect from South America called the boll weevil migrated to the United States, southern part of the United States. Boll weevil love to eat cotton. So the boll weevil came, destroyed the cotton plant. The farmers did everything they could to stop this little creature from destroying their livelihood. They used all kind of pesticides, insecticides, and things of that nature, and it just didn't work. The boll weevil just kept coming back. So there was this one farmer who decided, hey, instead of planting cotton, how about if you plant peanuts instead? Everybody looked at him like he was crazy. We make our livelihood on cotton. And he explained, you're not making much of a livelihood if the boll weevil is eating the cotton plants. So then they planted peanuts. The boll weevil does not like the taste of peanuts. So then they started doing peanuts, and they started eking out a really good living from selling peanuts. So then everybody was really happy. They were selling peanuts. It was working for a few years. Then there was an oversaturation of peanut products. So then it's like, hey, you told us to plant peanuts, now we're in trouble because now you can't give a peanut away because there's peanuts everywhere. So he came up with 300 ways of things you could do with a peanut. So there was peanut butter, peanut oil, they used peanuts and dyes, they came up with all these different ways to do peanuts. So sometimes you have to be thankful for the boll weevil and be happy that the little boll weevil came, because what you really need to do is reinvent yourself. And you never stop reinventing yourself.
Now, reinvention takes many forms, and it is so important that it permeates everything from a person who may have gotten laid off at a factory and is trying to find a new career, all the way up to the multimillionaire and multinational corporations that need to zig instead of zag when faced with an uncertain future. For instance, this is my friend Levi. Levi was born homeless, and for 18 years she remained homeless, going in and out of shelters and in and out of programs and in and out of foster homes and in and out of abandoned buildings and flop houses. And then, Levi also happens to be gay. She did everything that she could to survive, from hustling food stamps and selling those for more than the food was worth and getting more money. She has all these amazing stories of resiliency and survival. But her girlfriend, one day, a family member of her girlfriend attacked her. A very sort of tumultuous relationship they had. The girlfriend attacked her, and she came to within an inch of losing her life. I don't know if you can kind of see the scar. She almost lost her eye. And that was if my bottom was losing my third job, her bottom was almost dying, and she discovered that she needed to make a change. She needed to ask, what if? So today, Levi is in Detroit Young Builders Detroit. I'm sorry if I'm getting that wrong. And she's learning a trade. She's getting her GED, and she has an apartment on the west side of Detroit. Detroit needs Levi to reinvent. Tom and Peggy Brennan. Tom, who was a business consultant, and Peggy, who was a speech pathologist. They cashed in their retirement savings and bought a Model T showroom in the city, and has turned it into Green Garage, Detroit, which is this amazing hub. If you have not been there, go, for people who have ideas, sustainable ideas, and all the permutations of that, of what that means, to have one place to come and congregate and meet each other. Yusuf Shakur, and I pulled a note out because he has a quote. Yusuf was he was founding member of a gang and spent some time in prison where he met his father for the first time in prison. And his father actually gave him some incredible fatherly advice and parenting from while they were locked up. And after Yusuf got out of prison, he started the Urban Network because he said he was given the opportunity to restore, rebuild, and re-spirit from the ground up. The Urban Network is a bookstore. It's an entertainment company. It's a bunch of things. I have 30 seconds left. Yusuf needs to reinvent. Yusuf has reinvented, and Detroit needs that. And you may know Dan Gilbert as the owner of the Cavs. You may know you knew him as the founder of Quicken Loans. Dan Gilbert went on a skyscraper buying spree, and is now giving small business owners, the chance to ask what if and go into downtown and start their business there or evolve their business there. Now, I'm not an academic. I'm not Richard Florida or Edward Glaser. I tell stories. I'm a storyteller. To me, stories matter. The story that you tell yourself when you're driving down Michigan Avenue and you see burnt out buildings, if all you see is burnt out buildings and all you hear about and remember is the crime and the education, if you think that Detroit is hopeless, you're right. The stories matter. But if you look inward and you see and you feel that, you know what, maybe there's a chance that I could start a business in one of those small buildings. Or maybe I'm going to quit this job that I hate and that's bringing my family down and causing me so much stress and start the thing that I was meant to start. But if you think in your head that it's too risky, that it'll never work, you're right. That stories matter. That story matters. But if you think that, you know what, this is a chance for me to improve myself, improve my community, and have an effect on my friends and be an inspiration to my kids, that's the story that matters. And that's what Lemonade Detroit is trying to do. Lemonade Detroit, for me, isn't a film. It's not about making a movie. It's about giving people a concrete, solid, visual example of what's possible when you ask, what if, and you go out and pursue that thing. So for you and for your community, Detroit needs you to get off your ass and go make that thing happen, that thing in your mind that you always thought was possible, or if you didn't think it was possible, to open that door again, ask that question, what if, and listen to the answer. Thank you.